Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Casa Grande City Council study session. Tonight we're going to be talking about our transit. So, Larry, do you want to kick this off?
Mr. Mayor, we're going to call Councilwoman McBride.
Oh, okay.
I'm multitasking here.
And just to remind council too, I think tonight we do have some action on this transit.
one?
So, during the...
Pay attention, huh?
Yeah, during... Not that you don't. Though.
Well, I'm going to be a good passenger. So, I won't complain.
This is Donna.
Hi, Donna.
Hi there.
You were dialed in.
Thank you very much.
All right, we've already called the meeting to order. This is for
Thank
the
you.
Casa Grande City Council Transit Study Session.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'll just give a brief overview for, before I turn it over to Deb. You'll notice there's two items on the agenda. One's on consent and one's on regular, and she's going to cover those as she goes through this. But we really wanted to give an update to the council of the process that we're going through to get this transit up and running. It is a fairly lengthy process. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of things that have to go through the FTA. But the purpose of this, of tonight, is just kind of give an update, and feel free to ask any questions to know, what we're going to do in the future. So I'll turn it over to Deb.
And good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Deb. Tonight we're going to talk about 5 different topics, and then we'll do a little bit of follow-up from some questions and comments received from council at our meeting back in April on the 18th. It doesn't seem like it's been that long ago, but it has. So let's begin. Let's talk about the Fta Grant. And as you are aware, back in 2020, the city was awarded $2.57 million in CARES funds, which is coronavirus aid relief and economic security funds. The feds love their acronyms. And this funding was an emergency stimulus to get it out to transit agencies. People were losing jobs. People were having challenges, maybe paying for their fares. I mean, there was all kinds of instances. People were, drivers and other transit employees said, we don't want to work. We don't want to get sick. So there was a lot of things that drove the federal government to throw that money back out to the community. The nice thing about it is that it's 100% federally funded. There's no local match required. And while there's no sunset on this funding, the feds are reaching out to communities like ourselves that haven't used any of it yet, but they are aware that we haven't started our service, and we will soon be spending our monies. I don't think it's going to go away, but they do want us to spend it because it was stimulus funds. Even though the funds have been appropriated and apportioned to the city, each year we're still going to have to do a grant application telling them how we're going to spend the money and what's the category of the money, and they love to keep all these little records and checks and things. And that would also include if we did any capital purchases. Not only a bus, but it could be maybe down the road a bus shelter or a transit facility or major tools or support vehicles. There's all types of things we could be purchasing with our funds, be it the regular formula funds or the CARES Act funds. Another thing that's important is for a transit agency, large or small or rural, to have plans in place. And I want to talk about those real quickly. Let's see if, here we go. Well, actually, I jumped ahead. Let me go back if I can. So plans. There's 3 different plans that we need to put together. One is a public transportation agency safety plan, or basically our safety plan. And the purpose of this is to prepare and have on hand policies and procedures with regard to the management of our safety systems. So it'll help us, and we need to set performance targets. So we're going to take a look at developing policies that include safety elements to prevent injuries, or at least reduce the episode of that. Knock on wood, people get hurt, sometimes there's fatalities, or there's a bus accident. And when those things occur, it's any of the vehicles involved, not just the transit vehicle. So you set goals for zero, you want to have a zero tolerance, but you never know what really could happen. So as we're going to contract the service, we want to make sure that the contractor is in compliance, recognizes our plan. All new drivers and supervisors will get a taste of this, a training, and then it will be done annually. And that's the agency safety plan. The second thing that's important and we must have is a Title VI program and implementation plan. And basically, that's going to assure that every effort's made to prevent discrimination on the part of our transit program, develop policies and activities, and paying special attention to minority and low-income populations. We want to take reasonable steps to make sure that we provide meaningful access to persons with limited English proficiency. And as an example, we're going to talk about our survey that we did in a moment, but everything we do in the future, as we did with that survey, we want to make sure it's bilingual. And we have identified that the language we need to have available is Spanish. We take a look at each community and determine what those needs are. And in our case, it's Spanish, and that plan will be updated every 3 years. And then the final plan is called the Transit Asset Management Plan. Again, TAM. I told you they love their acronyms. And this is where we will keep an inventory of our vehicles, revenue and non-revenue vehicles, bus shelters, transit facilities, or other types of capital equipment. We're going to take a look and measure what they call a useful life. So a transit bus, for instance, has a lifetime that it's good for. For instance, a 15-passenger cutaway bus might be designed to last 7 years. But if it has very high mileage before those 7 years, then we'd be eligible to have it replaced. The transit, in other words, they want you to keep your vehicles in good condition, so a portion of the TRAM or the TAM plan is also a state of good repair. Those vehicles cannot be neglected or any maintenance deferred. So we're looking at the useful life, we're looking at a good maintenance plan, and then we're also keeping an inventory that the feds like to look at. So those are the 3 plans. That's in the agenda item that's going to be coming up and on consent. Now I'm going to move to our budget. So we're going to begin service in early 2023. It will not be a full year. It's based on the federal fiscal year, which is October to September. The budget we came up with is the $741,000, and this is broken down. I can't really reveal the data because we will be putting this out to bid, so I had to lump it. So purchase transportation will be a good portion of this, and that's the contractor who's going to operate and maintain the vehicles. Then there's administrative support, and that not only includes, for instance, my salary, but also the fuel for the revenue vehicles. Printing could be passes, could be other things, rider's guides. And then professional services. For those folks we go out to, could be graphic artists, could be the bus rep, could be things of that nature. Then there are going to be some unique new start services. We've got a little bit of budget set aside for that. And 1% of the budget needs to go to surveillance and security. So we don't have shelters or facilities, so we'll do something with cameras and security on the inside of the bus. And now I'm going to move on to our second topic, which is the fun thing we've just recently done, and that's a survey with the community to help us name our new transit system. And I'm just so pleased and happy and proud. This community, we received over 278 entries. And that's anywhere from 1, 2, 3, or 4 names each. And some people did more. So there's a lot of interest in this community. And it was available in English and Spanish. 2 people had it mailed out to them, and 1 was returned. It was distributed, on our website, Facebook, social media, and in the newspaper. There's a little rundown there of the matrix of the type of folks that responded. We see that there was more women, we see the older populations tended to participate, and most people were doing this on some sort of a mobile device. Another thing that was reoccurring is, and I don't want to give anything away and taint the progress, but there was some reoccurring themes and names and ideas. So when the focus group gets together and we go over and start looking at this, we will certainly take into consideration the fact that there are so many ideas from the community. And I might mention that on our focus group, Councilmember Fitzgibbons is a member, thank you very much. Irene Higgs from the Sun Corridor MPO. I don't know if he's here, but Mackenzie Lecter from City Manager's Office. Rebecca is Rebecca Standby, and Mindy Piper from the PIO's office, and myself. So we're going through this series. I think I've pretty much gone over it. We're going to, the focus group, we're going to meet. We're going to try to boil it down to the top 3 or 5 transit names that we think would be a good fit here in the city. And then the next thing that we're going to do is work with a graphic artist to come up with some ideas, the color scheme, concept, what that might look like. Is there a little logo? Is there a design or flair? And then the focus group will look at that again. And then the next process is where we take these 3 to 5 names and about 3 different concepts as far as how our name and whatnot will appear. We put that back out to the public and have them select a name and which design they like. Now, moving on, this is another item on our agenda this evening. This is the formation of the Transit Advisory Committee, or TAC. This is a very important group of individuals. They'll assist City Council and staff as we look at plans and policies and procedures. If we were to expand our service area or develop a fixed route service, what would be our routing and alignment? This is where staff will work closely with them. Hopefully, we will always agree, but you know, that's the sort of stuff we have to work out. But we're also going to be presenting to them. They're going to take a look at the performance standards. They're going to be taking a look at the metrics, and our contractor is going to have goals and objectives. So the contractor will sit as ex officio members on this committee. So they will be there, and they will be able to answer questions and speak to the day-to-day operations. A couple of things that we need to address quickly, and it was determined to get a TAC formed and active soon, is because there's a lot of planning involved. We need to figure out what our fare structure is going to be. We know that council approved a $1.50 one-way fare, but will we be introducing any sort of reduced fare for senior student? Will we have a monthly pass, which if the more you ride, the more you save? A punch pass, you know, there's all different types of print material or fares, if you will. The other thing we're going to look at is youth on the bus. I know many of you had a concern with that. The staff, we've done a lot of research. There's a lot of systems that have young people riding their buses on a demand service like ours will be, working out really well, and we'll develop a plan and work with the TAC on that and bring it back for your review and approval. And then, of course, a rider's guide, and this is what a bus rider is going to reach for. It's going to have mapping, rules, FTA language, all the pertinent things that you would need to know if you were a bus rider. In-house, our GIS staff has worked on taking the city map and giving it a transit flair. So you can see by this, it's just our city map, but we've taken out minor streets. We've added logos of what we believe to be major destinations. And the darker green area is the service area. We will take northerly to the recreation center. And then we will also go and serve the Promenade Mall. But this is what it's going to look like. This is what will go up on the website. This what will go in our writer's guide. And over time, our new logo will of course go on this, but over time, it'll change as the service does. This is much more transit looking, but you can see underneath it all, it was the city map. On the city website, under departments, we now have transit added. It's alphabetically there at the bottom. So that's pretty exciting. And if you were to go and look at that page, this is what appears at this time. It's just, and that Casa Grande Transit, I just put it up there so to identify something. The real name will be up there in place of that. It just talks about what the service is going to be, when it's going to operate, a little bit about it. It's going to show the map, and then there's contact information. Also, you'll see that there's a dedicated phone number for the transit service that at this time rings on my desk, and the email comes to my attention too. All right, and then with regard to some of the follow-up, these are just some of the items that were we spoke to a little bit at length. Some of the questions were about bus passes for employees of all different types, not necessarily the city. I think we could work with employers to determine if they wanted to buy passes. We could talk to the schools and determine if they, I don't even honestly know if schools still have ASB cards, but if they do, if they want to include it in, a packet or a purchase that students sometimes have. But we would be looking at things like a monthly pass, a punch pass, student pass. A monthly pass, for those people that ride more frequently, they're going to get the best value. They can get on and off. It's unlimited, but it's restrictive because it's for a month. It might be from 30 days from the day you purchase it or a calendar month. A punch pass is going to be for infrequent users. And again, they're going to get a savings too. And the driver just punches it or stamps it, whatever we wind up doing. Then we could look at student passes and senior passes as well. Social service vouchers, I think that's a really good idea. And it could be that the nonprofits or the social services that are serving the population that will potentially be using this service, they may purchase these in bulk from us at a reduced fare that they can hand out to their clients. Another topic we talked about with youth on the bus, and I spoke to this a moment again. There's a lot of good examples out there, I think, that we should mirror because it's working. And of course, take this to our TAC for comment and then recommendation to move on to council. Travel training, what are people going to do? How do they know how to ride it? What if they don't speak English? What if they're disabled and they're afraid to get out on the bus? All of this stuff will be available either by myself or the contractor staff to work with the individuals to show them how. We want to make transit friendly, very user friendly. So we are going to go out of our way to make sure that this is available. This will be on our website. And this is the type of information that I've already been discussing with social service agencies so that their staffs are aware of what's coming and what is available. Because again, that's always the roadblock. Yeah, I'd use it, but I don't know how to use it type of a concept. We talked about the performance, the contractor's performance. Well, I think using the city manager's weekly report, of course, is going to be the best way to get information to you. You'll see how things progress and areas where we might need to make some tweaking and adjustments. I think it's going to be very popular service, so I think we'll be seeing good things, but don't hold me to it necessarily. The other thing we wanted to know about was safety and security and training of the transit employees, the contractors' employees. So all employees that work for them will go through a background check. They'll be checked for criminal and driving background check. They need to have a good, clean driving record and no felonies. Sometimes it would be allowed, but certain felonies, they're just not allowed. These drivers were also going to encourage require that they have a P endorsement. This is from the MVD office, and this is This has got, they will receive some specialized training, passenger sensitivity, how to load and unload disabled folks with using a mobility aid, but also they do a predator background check. So that's another way of verifying that we don't have people out there that really shouldn't be around the vulnerable population. And the P endorsement is also a requirement for school bus drivers. So this, we take it seriously, as well as, the state takes it very seriously. That's my presentation. Are there any questions?
Questions, anyone? Lisa?
He can go first, go ahead.
Well, just a comment. I think is and going to be a lot of questions, but I respect that this is a process that is just underway. But I'm very impressed with that progress, how far you've come and the things you're working on. I think any and all of my questions will be answered in time, and I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lisa?
And me too. No. Ditto. No, Deb, of course, this is something that I supported for many years and was on the original Transit Advisory Committee. And so I'm so excited where you have brought this, and same with, our staff, and Dwayne has been, part of this for a long time. So it's so nice to have you here and someone that is so experienced with this. So it's great to see the progress. The transit focus group that you talked about, we're meeting on Wednesday. And, I'm just so grateful how you really engaged the community on that input. And she provided me with some of the input, and you guys, it's so exciting to see all the different names. And, on her survey, she asked people to put why. They would pick, they chose a certain name, and they gave their reasoning and everything. So it's so exciting to see the input and the excitement. And I do believe that it's going to be very successful. I think it, especially having you that knows what they're doing. This is a growing community, and there's a need. I sat in these focus groups. I saw the surveys with people that need transportation, and I think this is a good start. It's going to help people that don't have cars, that aren't able to get to their jobs, not get to doctor's appointments, not get to Walmart to shop. So I do believe there is a need, and I people have asked me, you talk a little bit about the social service organizations, and they're anxiously waiting. They're I'm glad you put that voucher program, because this is something they're going to use, and they're anxiously waiting for it too. Good. So as you put your transit advisory committee together, I hope you go back and look at that committee that when we originally were doing all the studies, we had some really good stakeholders on there. Okay. It was, I don't know if the surrounding communities can participate with this, but we had Maricopa and Coolidge involved in it. But there's some social service organizations, some education stakeholders. So as you're putting that group together, and I'm sure Dwayne can help you with that too, you might want to look at those people, because they were part of this process from the very beginning and might be able to help on that committee. So, wonderful. So anyways, I'm just excited to see that we're utilizing the dollars that we've had, for many, many years, and it's a service that our community needs. So thank you so much, and thank you to our staff for us to get this far. And I'm excited for these names. It's going to be fun.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, that's it. Thank you.
Matt?
Yeah, unlike Lisa, I was not always a big fan of the transit program, but over the years that we've been working on this, I've been very impressed, and now I'm a big proponent. And it's something, I knew it's always something that we needed, but we figured out a way to do it responsibly, and what's going to work for people. And I don't think come at a better time right now with gas prices and everything too. I mean, this is one way that we as a city can help people with that type of situation as well. It's a good thing, and it is needed. And like I said, I was not always a proponent, but you've done a great job. And just like Bob said, you're laying everything out really well. So I'm excited to see how this goes and how it operates and what our ridership is like. So good job, and I look forward to it, and maybe they'll pick the name I submitted, maybe.
Can I add a little comment? When we're reviewing it, we don't know anybody's names.
That's right, no.
Hey,
So
Deb,
when we've seen the same one 5,000 times, we're going to know.
Yeah, all right.
Deb, I did have a question. I know we
Yes.
talked a little bit about bus wraps and some other stuff. Are we gonna have in the program some opportunities for sponsorships and stuff like that? Meaning, to sponsor the buses or to help us, offset the cost a little bit?
Yeah, I really think that's something we need to take a good look at in, one of our next major steps, because with a bus wrap, well, with any vehicle, you can do exterior or interior advertisements.
Right.
Or maybe our passes, a company pays for them
Right.
for several months. Maybe on the backside, it's all about them, and the front side's just transit.
Sure.
So we're going to explore different ways to take advantage of that and save us
Right.
some money.
Good. And then I know the committee is gonna be kind of, when we're gonna, well, I can't talk about it because we're gonna vote on it, so I won't talk about it. Thank you, Brett. Anybody else have any comments, Mr. Powell?
Well, I just had a question. The senior center used to get transit buses to take people up to a ball game or to a play or to something special. Would they be able to do that with this probably, hopefully?
Mr. Powell, unfortunately, no, because it's restricted to public transit, general public. We'd have to open it up to the whole community and then just be able to take as many can fit in the bus. So those sorts of things are not done. Now, however, if it's a city-sanctioned event where we're going to ride in a parade, that would be different. But as a rule, those kinds of
Well, there was
excursions
something
are...
that used to really excite the seniors when they were able to take
Yeah.
a trip like that.
I know they still have
Yeah.
a vehicle. We've been talking about what could be done with that vehicle. Nothing, of course, has been decided, but just ideas. So who knows? That would be a very good idea down the road.
And Mr. Mayor, and to Mayor Pro Tem Powell's comments, and Ms. Bruner was just actually outlining this, we still do have a van that we utilize at the senior center that ultimately can be utilized for that particular type of programming for senior adults, and now that we're beginning to come through the pandemic, that's part of the dialogue that we've been having as far as additional program that we offer as a staff in the city as well.
Any other questions for Deb? Thank you, Deb. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
All right, we'll stand adjourned until 7 o'clock.
Fist bump. Fist bump.